imegusa wajibu wa serikali katika kuwezesha upatikanaji wa makazi ya bei nafuu na ya kutosha ili kuondoa changamoto katika upatikanaji wa nyumba nchini. Kitabu hiki pia kimetoa mtazamo muhimu kwa jinsia katika kutatua changamoto ya makazi nchini Tanzania. Tunakaribisha wadau mbalimbali wa sekta ya nyumba, yaani waendelezaji miliki, ili kusaidiana na serikali kuongeza kasi ya ukuaji miji iliyo salama na iliyopangwa vyema. Kwa hiyo nina imani kitabu hiki ambacho kinaenda kuzinduliwa leo kitakuwa pia na mwelekeo mzuri wa kuweza kuboresha kile ambacho kina misi katika uendelezaji wa sekta ya nyumba, lakini pia kutakuwa na mchango mzuri ambao unatuelekeza namna bora ya kuweza kuwa na nyumba za gharama nafuu na zinazogusa makundi yote. Serikali imeendelea kuwa na mazingira wezeshi katika kuwezesha jamii ya Kitanzania kuwa na makazi bora na salama. Serikali kupitia shirika la nyumba imewezesha kwa upatikanaji wa nyumba za gharama nafuu kwa wananchi. Pamoja na shirika hilo kujiendesha kibiashara, 30% ya nyumba zinazojengwa katika miradi inayoendelezwa hapa nchini ni nyumba za gharama nafuu. Shirika pia limetenga 30% ya nyumba zilizojengwa kwa ajili ya kupangishwa ili kuwezesha wananchi wasiokuwa na uwezo wa kununua nyumba hizo kuweza kumudu kuishi katika makazi bora kwa njia ya kupanga. Na tunaona National Housing kodi zao wanachaji kwa mwezi, tofauti na wale wanaochaji kwa mwaka, kwa miezi kadhaa. Lakini lengo la serikali ni kwamba lazima tutakuja na sera pamoja na sheria ambayo itawataka Watanzania kuweza kulipa kodi kwa mwezi. Kwa hiyo tutakuwa na sheria na kanuni mbalimbali zitakazosimamia hiyo, kwa sababu tuko kwenye uboreshaji wa sera yetu ya nyumba pamoja na ile sera ya makazi.
Two main key messages that I think are very important. The housing sector has never found a permanent home in the institutional framework of the nation. The second issue that I thought was very important to bring forward to you today is that there is confusion in the Swahili language on how to properly translate the word housing. And this is one of the issues that, you know, there's a social cultural dimension to why the housing sector has been dwindling. It was a national agenda, is it still? Endorsing a national housing policy and passing its subsequent act is just one step forward towards improving the situation, towards promoting the housing sector in the country. We need a more holistic, systematic transformation. As you said it, Honorable Minister, one of our core objectives is to kickstart debates, conversations on bringing back housing to the national agenda. It's a holistic, systematic transformation that we need. All key actors, the government, as in the central government, the local government authorities, the private sector, the developers, ranging from the National Housing Corporation, the Watumishi Housing, all these public institutions, the academic institutions to do research like this, you know, we need a holistic approach that will bring all key actors together. The solution is already with the people. Create alliances that will be more meaningful given our context.
We all understand that when people arrive in cities, they end up actually living in the informal settlements. When these lands are being surveyed and being sold to the public, not everybody can be able to afford. So the challenge which I want to raise here is that in all these informal settlements, which are very far from the city center, services such as water, sanitation, road network is still a very huge challenge. These communities, they need to unite one another to form cooperatives. These cooperatives can enable them to access land at affordable rates because they will combine and buy combined land together collectively. And secondly, the cooperative can enable the financial institution to support them. But the reality sometimes is the poor people who are living in that area, definitely when development happens, they are being pushed away, because sometimes we really found that the poor people are being pushed away. They go very far and they don't really enjoy the benefit of the city. But we really want everybody to enjoy the city and the benefit of it. And that one could be possible when we really design inclusive design for everybody.
The biggest question when it comes to housing is affordability. Affordability in terms of accessing land, affordability in terms of accessing inputs to housing, for instance, building materials, affordability in terms of accessing finance that will facilitate and enable us to build the house. Now, that is why when this problem of affordability is a challenge to most of us, we go to informal settlements to find land or to access rental rooms that are affordable. What is affordability? Affordable to who? The Honorable Minister talked about the construction of affordable housing, but the challenge is, so this housing, who is it going to be affordable to? We have only about 2.7% of the urban residents in our areas able to afford or to access that housing. Do all the poor people have to have their own housing? Because there is also the rental housing option. History has promoted housing ownership at the expense of rental housing. And rental housing is quite affordable for urban residents. Rental housing also enables you to move from place to place in terms of labor mobility. Renters are very important, and we know that about almost 51% of the urban residents in Dar es Salaam are renters, and a bigger percentage of them are people who are in the lower income bracket. If you're a private landlord, you can fix your rent without any regulation. Current reforms, for instance, the Unit Title Act and so on, they are favoring people to build, for instance, multi-story houses, build different types of housing units that also favor rental tenancy, because somebody can want to, for instance, rent just a small unit, 2-roomed house, 1-roomed house. And I think this is a very good move, because then we have a variety of houses. Another challenge in terms of adequate and affordable housing is when we have marginalized groups like women. When we have housing that is not affordable, people who suffer most are women. And we know from our statistics, the census statistics, women-headed households are increasing. The Honorable Minister talked about some regulatory changes that will favor rental housing, that will favor access to home ownership in terms of finance. We still need to lobby the speedy approval of the National Housing Policy for 2018. There are moves towards having it approved. We feel that when a national housing policy is approved, it will form a regulatory framework, an institutional framework to guide housing. Different collaborative arrangements needs to be put in place. For instance, now we have the PPP, but we can also have public community led partnerships. The government cannot abdicate from providing social protection to marginalized groups.
Huge programs, well thought out, but they have not been able to solve the land shortage problem. Does access to land guarantee housing? We need to think of a place of a way of enabling our people to own a house to own a house rather to own a piece of land. And the best way of owning a house is the cooperative model, so that the landowners can, in the end, have a house. Even local governments, they have the big chunks of land that is empty, idle, public land, that could be brought back and made accessible for housing. So this can get a possibility of a policy that would back up a high-rise or multi-family kind of units, which we have in a way, but there's nothing on the acquiring the land for that particular purpose.
If you would have the power, what would you change? Answer in one sentence.
If I had power, I'll go for land pooling as a major tool. And if I had powers as well in the areas that are within the regularization, I would go for a land value capture, betterment tax.
Thank you. That was a sentence with a semicolon, but that's allowed. Tatu.
If I had power, I think I would really encourage cooperative housing, because it has proved to be successful, so that poor people can have access to housing, including land.
If I had power, which I think I do, I would generate a global South housing theory that works in our context.